She should have known when he didn't flinch. Most men who approach a woman alone at a bar have a tell, a nervous laugh, a rehearsed line, eyes that flicker with doubt. Dante Vega had none of that. He sat down like he'd already been given permission, like the seat had been waiting for him. Sofia Reyes noticed. She always noticed. 8 years working intelligence at the Department of Homeland Security had turned her instincts into something closer to a second heartbeat. She read rooms the way other people read weather, looking for the shift before the storm. But she was tired that night. The kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. He introduced himself simply. Dante. No last name, no title, no explanation of what a man in a suit that expensive was doing in a hotel bar 2 blocks from Capitol Hill on a Tuesday. He ordered her drink before she could decline. Not her current one, her next one. He'd been watching long enough to know she was almost done. That should have been the moment she left. Instead she stayed. He spoke the way powerful men do when they want something, slowly, like time belonged to him. He asked about her work with the kind of careful curiosity that could pass for genuine interest if you weren't trained to know the difference. She gave him nothing real. Surface answers. Safe edges. The conversation equivalent of a locked door with the light on inside. He smiled like he found that interesting. When she finally left, he didn't ask for her number. He said, "I'll see you again, Sofia." She hadn't told him her name. She walked to her car and sat in the dark for a long time. Something was wrong. She just couldn't prove it yet. 3 weeks in, Sofia had a problem. The problem wasn't Dante. The problem was that she liked him. Not in the soft, dizzy way women like men in movies, all fluttering pulse and lost sleep. She liked him the way you like something dangerous that hasn't hurt you yet. The way you stand at the edge of something high and feel the pull downward and call it exhilarating instead of what it actually is. He was consistent. That was the tell she couldn't shake. Too consistent. The flowers came on the same day each week. The restaurant reservations were always somewhere she'd mentioned once, casually weeks before. He listened like a man taking notes, and she would know because so did she. The questions started small. Curious questions. The kind wrapped in softness so they didn't feel like extractions. You must deal with so much at that checkpoint on the I-95 corridor. Does your team actually manage all of that? She smiled. She said something vague. She filed the question away like evidence in a drawer she hadn't opened yet. Then she ran a test. She told him, deliberately, conversationally, over dinner, that a checkpoint near the Virginia border had been decommissioned. Skeleton crew. Low surveillance window every Thursday morning. None of it was true. She made it up over the soup course and delivered it like an afterthought. Then she waited. She kept seeing him. Kept letting him hold her hand across restaurant tables. Kept letting herself feel the warmth of someone who looked at her like she was the most interesting thing in any room. She told herself it was strategy. She almost believed it. She found it on a Wednesday. He was in the shower. She had 40 seconds, maybe less. She moved through his apartment the way she moved through everything. Quietly, deliberately, without hesitation. The burner phone was in the inside pocket of his coat. Unlocked. Either careless or a trap. She photographed every screen in 11 seconds and put it back exactly as she found it. Then she sat on the edge of his bed and waited for the water to stop. The file had 3 columns. Names. Dates. Roles. Her name sat near the bottom of the second page under a heading that required no translation. Asset. Active. Not lover. Not target. Not even a name with meaning attached to it. Asset. The word that intelligence agencies use when they want to remind themselves that a person is a resource, not a human being. She knew the word well. She had written it herself, about others, in reports she filed on Monday mornings with lukewarm coffee going cold beside her keyboard. She understood now what it felt like to be on the other side of it. He came out of the bathroom. Hair damp. Shirt half-buttoned. That unhurried ease he wore like a second skin. He reached for her and she let him, one last time, her face giving away nothing, her mind already 3 moves ahead. Later, over breakfast, she asked him quietly, almost gently, "Do you ever feel guilty about the people you use?" He looked up from his coffee. 1 second passed. Then he smiled and said, "I never use people, Sofia. I invest in them." He believed that. That was the saddest part. She filed the report on a Thursday morning. Clean. Precise. Every photograph, every coordinate, every name from that second page. She attached the checkpoint flag from 3 weeks prior, the one triggered by the false intel she'd fed him over dinner like a test she already knew he'd fail. The case was airtight before she even sat down to write it. 2 of his operatives were intercepted at the border by Friday evening. The pipeline was dead. Dante Vega was untouchable in the legal sense. Men like him always were. Too many layers between his hands and the crime. But his operation in Washington was gone. Severed cleanly like something that had never been allowed to take root. And in the world he operated in, failure had a cost that no lawyer could negotiate down. His rivals now knew he had tried and lost. That was its own kind of sentence. He called her on a Saturday. She picked up. Said nothing. Just held the phone and let him talk. The explanations, the half-truths dressed as confessions, the version of events where he was complicated rather than calculated. He was good at it. She gave him that. He could make a lie sound like something that deserved to be understood. She waited until he was finished. Then she said, "You thought I was an asset, Dante. I was the whole operation." She hung up. She didn't block the number. She didn't need to. He wouldn't call again. Men like Dante Vega only reached out when they believed they still had leverage. She had made sure he had none. Monday morning. Badge on her hip. Coffee in her hand. Washington gray outside the window and the whole city moving below her like it had no idea. The most dangerous thing in the room never announces itself.
If this story pulled you in, subscribe, because the next one goes even deeper. The Mafia Mind Stories. We don't do ordinary here.